Up next, one of the country's largest banks, BPI, will talk about how sustainability and profitability can go hand in hand. BPI's ESG+E2 approach. This will show us how becoming sustainable makes good business sense, especially in the long run. And presenting this topic, we have Vice President and Head of BPI's Sustainability Office, Ms. Jo Ann Eala.
So thank you, Manila Bulletin, for inviting me over to talk about the sustainability initiatives of the Bank of the Philippine Islands. This is the outline that I plan to follow today. First, I'll give an introduction to sustainability, and then I will talk about global and local initiatives that are happening and the journey of BPI. I'll also share with you our unique sustainability formula. Just to start, let's talk of what sustainability means. No? This means refers to the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. No? So this is thinking beyond ourselves. Now, earlier on, sustainability was referred to as three P's. No, there are three P's that reflect sustainability. First P refers to people. No, it's uplifting the quality of the lives of people, no, including our customers, our employees, and the communities where we live and where we work, no, where we operate our businesses. The second is our planet. No, we want to reduce our negative impact to the environment. We want to have environment-friendly projects, initiatives, and businesses. The last, which is profit. We want to make sure that there are financial benefits now out of the initiatives that we come up with, and there is economic impact, both at the local and at the national level, and we all contribute to nation building. Now, the intersection of all three today is what we refer to as sustainability. So sustainability from being triple P has evolved into ESG. ESG is now the metric used for evaluating whether we are doing something that is truly sustainable. So we look at environmental impacts, social impacts, and governance impacts, using very specific metrics under each. So for E, which refers to the environment, please note that this has two varying areas for evaluation. Now, one is, do you impact the environment? Are you damaging the environment, or are you helping protect it? The other side of it is, how are you to withstand environmental risks? So in the same way that you can impact the environment can also impact you. So there are climate adaptation and mitigation initiatives under E. There are resilience, emission reduction, efficiency, renewable energy initiatives. All of these, all under what we call environmental impacts or environmental metrics. When you talk of S, think of people, think of your impact to the people you employ, to the community where you operate, and to the overall society that you serve. So S is very, very people-oriented. G, on the other hand, is, to my mind, because I am from a bank, from the Bank of the Philippine Islands, a big portion of this is actually compliance. So from board independence to transparency to code of business conduct and ethics, there is a lot that also falls under G. So later on, we will show you what we do beyond ESG and BPI. When I was talking about environmental impact, I said earlier that you have to look at it in two ways. Your impact to the environment. Are you causing pollution? How are you managing your waste? How much greenhouse gas emissions do you emit? Are you contributing to climate change? But at the same time, you have to look at the impact of the environment to you. In the Philippines, environmental concerns is pretty significant. And that is because we are along the typhoon belt and we are also along the Pacific Ring of Fire. Being at the typhoon belt exposes us to something like 20 to 24 earthquakes a year. Now, being along the Pacific Ring of Fire also means that we have an average of 20 earthquakes a day. Now, we have also recorded globally, that seawater has been rising by 3.4 millimeters per year, but that would mean something like 4 inches higher in seawater levels by 2050. So not very comforting for an archipelagic country. Now, to us, global warming is now a common word. But what does that mean? That means that there is a rapid increase in the temperature of the surface of the Earth. And this is because greenhouse gases, which get emitted every time we drive our car, every time we turn on our lights or use any appliance, that the greenhouse gases that get trapped in our atmosphere heats up the Earth. And the thing is, we all have, sad to say, contributions to greenhouse gas emissions. So those of you who are working, say, for coal plants, manufacturing facilities of cement, steel, gas, and also those of you who simply travel by air, by land, by water, and any lighting and cooling system is also, as whenever you turn on these appliances, that also impact heating the Earth. This is a visual example. So what is it that we as ordinary people do that actually contribute to greenhouse gas emissions? Simply because we use electricity, we use gas. So look at our vehicles, even the food that we buy. Whenever we use the ref, which we do every day, air conditioning units, our lights. So these are very simple human activities that are a given for us to live comfortably, and they automatically contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Now, looking at the Philippines, the thing is that something like 26% of the Filipinos live below the poverty line. We also have almost 11% of Filipinos who are considered food poor, and we have over 3% unemployed. So when you look at the social side of the overall sustainability picture of the country, the Philippines is not exactly a country that is above its ASEAN neighbors. We're actually a bit problematic relatively. On the governance side, we have developed frameworks and systems dedicated to sustainability. And fortunately, the regulatory scenario is more conducive than before. We'll show you later, various agencies of government coming up with very ESG-oriented requirements, which therefore help promote sustainability. There are also requirements related to sustainability reporting, and there are requirements specific to environmental and social risk management. Now, we are not alone here, definitely. In fact, we are just following the initiatives of other countries. Looking at what has happened at the UN level, as early as 2015, 193 countries actually signed what we call the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These are 17 goals which aim to address issues related to poverty, hunger, health, education, gender, environment, climate, human rights, labor. So we have 17 interlinked goals that all aim to have a sustainable future for all. Now, there were targets designed under each of the 17 SDGs, and the plan is to have these targets achieved by 2030. remember, we're more than halfway. This was signed in 2015. It's already 2022. So we barely have 7 years to go, no? A little over 7 years to go before the 2030 deadline. And we expect something like, but what has been estimated is that $5 to $7 trillion per year will be needed to achieve these 17 UN SDGs. Now, BPI belongs to the Ayala group of companies. Fortunately, we do. So the whole group is seriously committed to sustainability. In fact, there is what you call sustainability blueprint, no, that BPI follows as it works together with the whole Ayala group, no, to achieve and contribute to the sustainability blueprint. This is our primary guide in ensuring that the milestones, no, and the things we do, everything that we do in BPI contribute also to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Specific to BPI, of the 17, we are assigned one primary SDG, and that's SDG number 8, the one on the lowest box in the middle. It's entitled SDG 8, no, is entitled Decent Work and Economic Growth. And this because we are a bank and we therefore cut across various industries and therefore impact work, no, provided to the whole nation across various industries. So that's our main goal. But just to tell you frankly, all 17 we have impact too. It's just that when it comes to the Ayala Blueprint, our main assignment is SDG 8. Now, why is it important that we look at sustainability? I think, and why is it that globally, 193 countries had to commit to the UN Sustainable Development Goals? Also in 2015, there was a what we call PCA or Paris Climate Agreement. So where these 193 countries came up with a commitment, no, an agreement to battle climate change. And the problem is this. What is the problem that these countries, 193 countries, wanted to address? This is because to be able to ensure that Earth will subsist, no, conducive to life, to humans. Maybe that's how we can put it. For us to subsist, we as a species, we need global temperatures to rise no more than 2 degrees Celsius every year, no, up to 2030. Now, the problem is only up to, 2 degrees in temperature up to 2030. The thing is, what we have been seeing is that the direction of the increase in global temperature has been at a rate of 3.5 or towards an increase of 3.5 degrees centigrade. That is almost double the maximum limit that we can tolerate. So what we're trying to do now globally, no, so 193 countries working together, is to for each country to come up with a commitment to help reduce that rise in temperature from 3.5 degrees Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius maximum. Actually, the original target was 1.5. No, so there was a time that global temperature was already slowing down. It came from 3.5 degrees Celsius. But the problem is, and that was during the pandemic, the problem is as economic activity goes back to normalcy, the increase in temperature also went back to 3.5 degrees Celsius. There. Now, as I said earlier, the regulatory scenario is more conducive. And thanks to the BSP, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and also the Department of Energy, there have been more recent regulatory requirements that make sustainability even more relevant and compelling. Say the central bank requires banks to come up with a sustainable finance framework. We need to have an environmental and social risk management system. And there is also a more recent guideline, no, for sustainable giving sustainability principles in investment activities of banks. The SEC, much earlier on, as early as 2019, already mandated publicly listed companies to have an annual sustainability report, while the DOE, on the other hand, has given incentives, no, for energy efficiency and energy conservation activities of companies. Um, Now, I want to show you um, how BPI has been doing it. And this is perhaps for you to pick up a couple of lessons. No, for this is for both banks and non-banks. No? One of the things we have done is that as early as 2008, we have started following IFC's standards for sustainable energy programs or initiatives. We were the first bank to have done that. And then also in '08, we started already reporting on sustainability, following the GRI network. That went on for years, being always in the forefront of having sustainability initiatives aimed at, say, helping SMEs in the countryside and mapping cities for environmental risks. As you can see there, that went all throughout. So, and also our reporting included, our annual reports included sustainability section, which made us also monitor exactly what we do and what our impacts are. So moving on to 2018, we had several other initiatives, which I will detail a little bit later. But I just want to tell you that this journey has started long ago, as early as 2008. And this is the reason why, perhaps, why BPI has sustainability embedded in the things that we do, in the DNA and the mindset of people. And as you continue to do sustainability initiatives, it becomes more and more ingrained, and it becomes part of your daily operations, in the way you do things and the way you design the initiatives that you want to pursue. Now, but why would you do it? The question is, what's the rationale for sustainability? One of the things that we would like to tell you is this. Now, there are economic benefits actually to sustainability, and you'd see that emphasized a little bit more in the next slide. Also, because of the regulatory scenario, compliance to regulatory requirements becomes easier. Your ESG ratings can also move up. Remember, people, customers, shareholders, investors are more and more conscious of sustainability initiatives of companies today. And then and that would also include stakeholders who would I'm sure a good number of you, especially the companies here who have foreign investors, you will be receiving more and more questions related to sustainability. Of course, in the end, you will be happy to note that you will also have very specific environmental and social goals, or social, environmental and social achievements as you move on. Let me talk about the top BPI sustainability initiatives. Let's start off with what we call our Sustainable Development Finance Program. This is a finance program that helps SMEs ensure that their green initiatives, say like those in renewable energy, energy efficiency, climate resilience, which includes green buildings, as well as sustainability or sustainable agriculture, are successful. Now, we have made sure that SMEs' sustainability initiatives are successful through the assistance that are provided, technical consultation sessions that are provided by are IFC trained and accredited consultants. So to date, we have done 370 projects on sustainability under the SDF program. And we're very happy to note that because it is the SMEs who need more help in their sustainability projects, our record to date is that all those who have followed the specific advice of our technical consultants, whose services are given for free, by the way, all of these clients have been successful and nobody has gone under. So there's no non-performing loans in this portfolio for all of those clients who have enrolled here and have followed our technical advice. But you'd ask, why would you do that, BPI? You're giving it for free, and there's nothing much to gain out of an SME loan. And then you'd spend on a technical consultant, which is not exactly very cheap. But specifically because of what we see, which is a list of projects that are doing well despite the pandemic, it tells you that following technical standards in managing a sustainability initiative is key. It's very important that you look at the technical feasibility and financial viability of projects to ensure success. To BPI, while we have an additional cost for this, to BPI, that's still lesser non-performing loans, other than feeling good, of course, that we've done something to help the SMEs. So another thing that we do, number two, is assisting as what we call self-employed micro and entrepreneurs, other than the SMEs. So we do have specific initiatives for them, and we have come up with loans that are really, really small, from 75,000 down to 10,000 peso loans. Because we know, again, those who need help are those at the very bottom. So the third initiative is what we call the green and social bond offerings of BPI. For the green bonds, we are very proud of this because this is the first negatively yielding green bond offer in Southeast Asia. The thing is that when you say it's a negative yielding bond, that means that the investors knew at the onset that they are to lose money in this investment, yet they were willing to give their money to BPI for this green bond offer. That particular negative yielding bond was actually offered in Switzerland, where investors are more discriminating. Yet they agreed not to invest in a negative yielding bond because they believed in how BPI was managing its green portfolio. It knew that the investors knew that BPI's way of managing its green portfolio is something that they would like to support. Well, of course, they knew that we have been following IFC's sustainable finance standards. Now, this particular bond, despite being a negative yielding bond, was 4 times oversubscribed. The following year, 2020, BPI was also the first one to offer a COVID response bond. And just like the green bonds, this was also oversubscribed. And this COVID response bond, which was called CARE bonds, was 7 times oversubscribed. So the fourth one is what we call the environmental risk assessment initiative of the bank. Now, again, another one that we are pretty proud of and which we hope to share with other institutions. We call this ERA for short. This is an initiative where we use a free system that we tap from FIVOL's DOST. This system is called Hazard Hunter, and it allows everyone in the Philippines to map environmental risk exposure to earthquakes, typhoons, and flooding, as well as volcanic eruptions. By the way, the system is free. and is available even through your smartphones. So we have used this to map the bank's assets, our employees' addresses, our clients' assets, and collaterals. No? So we are aware of our natural hazard exposures. The BSP likes this project a lot and has actually asked BPI to teach other banks, no, on how to use this system. And this is because, first, the system is free. So that's the magic word, free. And then second, it's accessible to everyone. No, so those of you who would like to also know how exposed you are, you know, to natural disasters, please do go to the Hazard Hunter system of FIVOLS and DOST. And the fifth initiative that we are proud of, which are perhaps other banks can also follow, is this. No? So other than our coal policy, which by the way also included a deadline, a specific deadline for reducing our coal exposure to half and to zeroing it out. No? So that's halving our coal generation portfolio by 2026 and zeroing it out by 2032. We have also gone into financing a project which reduces the life of a coal plant. Again, that is the first, no, in the Philippines, which we hope other banks can also follow suit. Okay, so looking at that first initiative, the Sustainable Development Finance, I wish to explain this a little bit more, especially for the SMEs in the audience, no, because there are 4 types of projects that you can look at, no, for this specific program. One is what we call energy efficiency. So anything that reduces power consumption or electricity consumption, we finance that. And for all, we have free technical consultations. We also have renewable energy projects, no, the likes of solar, hydro, biogas, biomass, no, or even wind, which are huge projects. Climate resilience projects, which involve green buildings. And then sustainable agriculture, which include the promotion of countryside development. No? Sustainable agriculture cover biogas and biomass. And more importantly, my favorite, climate-controlled facilities, no, which ensure that the livestock that you're taking care of, like chickens and pigs, no, their housing facilities can withstand very strong typhoons and very strong winds, no other than flooding. So with these offerings, we have free technical consultation. We assess you for environmental risks. We, the bank also crafts, no, customized loans, no, or even bond offers for you. And there are even times that we can give you guarantees, no, from our partner institutions like the IFC and the USAID, which we've done in the past. ADB is also another candidate. So just to give you an example, to be more visual about it, so these on the left are energy efficiency initiatives. So from inverter, air cons, or even inverter TVs, inverter refs, you have LED lights, machines, no, that are more efficient with the use of electricity, and chillers, no, the bigger or mommy air cons, no, which can reduce electricity in a big way if you buy the proper type. Renewable energy, as mentioned earlier, include solar plants, hydro plants, the biomass and biogas facilities, and onshore and offshore wind, no, which we have in the Philippines. Climate resilience include green buildings, and sustainable agriculture include biogas and biomass facilities. So this is my final slide, and I promise to share with you the formula that BPI follows. So I've already discussed environmental, social, and governance goals, no, which we all share. No, this is the common metric or set of principles that you will hear when you talk of sustainability today. But what we saw has been missing is this, no, a second E, which is economic benefit. When we talk of economic benefit, or E2, we mean your ability to boost income, no, out of the ESG initiative. 2, you can also come up with savings, no, out of the ESG initiatives, as mentioned in the examples earlier. And then 3, you can reduce risks. like risk exposures, no, to natural disasters. So these things, no, these benefits, these economic benefits, or what we refer to as E2, need to be present as you pursue ESG initiatives. And that is the unique formula of BPI, ESG plus a second E or E2, which will help you ensure that your project is self-sustaining and will have a prolonged life. Okay, so this ESG plus E2 is our unique formula to ensure true sustainability. Okay, so that's the overall program of BPI, which I am happy to share with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jo Ann Eala. I'm sure that the questions we'll be asking will give us a more in-depth understanding on sustainability through BPI's lens. Let me start with the first question. What are the biggest challenges still facing true appreciation of what sustainability means? And why is it so important for our future?
Well, in terms of biggest challenges, no, I guess in the Philippines, the biggest challenge would be our exposure. No? One of the biggest challenges of sustainability in the Philippines is the exposure of the country to various environmental risks. So that means two things. We are highly exposed, and we are therefore very much at risk in terms of both lives and property. But the good side of that is also that appreciation of the need to be sustainable has long started. So if you think of how conscious are Filipinos to climate change and its impacts, there would be at least an iota of appreciation that there is indeed climate change and it is impacting us and it therefore needs to be addressed. So while a good number of Filipinos, maybe the majority, are not yet acting on it, I'd like to think that somehow there is that realization that climate change and the risks related to it, no, are real and they're impacting us. Now, so these more frequent and extreme battles against natural disasters, they may be bad, but to be honest, I think they are needed in a way for the Filipinos to be reminded of the need to be more prepared and to have their own contribution to mitigating, no, the impacts of climate change. So why are we suffering from all of these disasters? No? As mentioned earlier, we happen to have two very bad factors, no, affecting us. We're not only along the typhoon belt, we're also along the Pacific Ring of Fire. So we are considered, in fact, one of the top 5 most vulnerable countries, no, to climate change. So there you go. No, if you don't prepare, you will really get hit, and that also makes it imperative for us to do something, no, to contribute to sustainability.
Do you think sometimes it's the youth who is, they say, the promise, because they are the ones who are more aware and more conscious about practicing sustainability? And does that mean that maybe the older generation has missed the boat?
I think the current generation of leaders, no, is important in terms of having significant contributions to how the world is managed today. So pushing for consciousness to sustainability initiatives. In fact, we should not delay our ESG initiatives. We have to move a little faster because just like the commitment during the Paris Agreement, So 2015 was when the commitment was done. 2030 is the target year. We're already in 2022, so around halfway. So we have to speed up a little bit, no, in terms of achieving that commitment to bring down the increase in global temperatures, no, to the 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. Because really, that is what makes it very compelling. The rise in global temperature has to be abated immediately. And if we wait for the youth, the next generation to act on it, it may be too late. So action has to start today.
Do you think there's a disparity in the way that private and the public sectors are making sustainability a key factor in their decision-making process?
Both the private and the public sectors have their own sustainability initiatives. So you have the DOE, the Climate Change Commission, and then regulators like the SEC, BSP, even the Philippine Stock Exchange. So public organizations have been active in sustainability. Now, the private sector, thanks to the influence of global institutions from IFC to ADB to USAID, and all the UN-related groups who have been visiting the Philippines, helping us out. These institutions, global institutions, have been helping Philippine businessmen, the private sector, to realize the standards and the best practices, no, that we have to follow. So we have been, like in the case of BPI, we have been actively pursuing sustainability initiatives as early as 2008, and that was in partnership with IFC. Now, thankfully as well, we have a management team. We have people at the very top who are very much committed to sustainability as well. So both the public and the private sectors have been actively coming up with ESG advocacies and actual initiatives, to make sure that we all contribute to sustainability, to the country's sustainability. So I have seen that more recently, the regulatory scenario has made it even more conducive for the private sector to do so. Because, compliance kasi, that's a carrot and a stick, So you either get penalized or ano yan, you can be cited for non-compliance. But so I think it helps a lot that the public sector, our regulators have become more and more committed to sustainability.
Ms. John, is there a wish list you have in terms of, particular industries or businesses that you hope would seek financing with sustainability agendas input into their business? Or are there particular businesses that seem to have been more responsive to the idea of sustainability initiatives?
Okay. In terms of wish list, my favorite today is the renewable energy sector. To my mind, for banks, if you need to prioritize one sector for financing today, let it be the renewable energy sector. Why? This is because my personal fear is this. We will have an energy supply problem in the coming years. Why is that? You see, together with our commitment to reduce and in fact zero out coal generation, we are also seeing other banks doing the same, not just like BPI. So we're talking of cutting down and eventually zeroing out coal output. Coal accounts for 58% of our energy production, of our energy supply in the Philippines. But renewable energy is seen only to be as high as 35% by 2040. So what will happen if by 2030, 2032, coal will practically be zero, but renewable energy will not be there with sufficient supply to offset, no, the depletion of coal. So what I'm most afraid of is this, no, that as we recover from this dual crisis, we have a pandemic, we have the Ukraine war, both impacting the economy and the health situation of the country. We would be recovering during a period when electricity supply will be a problem. We cannot afford that. We need to be recovering with all resources, particularly energy, sufficient. So perhaps this is also a call, no, for other banks, no, to join hands, no, and help ensure that we support the renewable energy sector and help augment that supply of electricity in the coming years. That's my primary priority. Of course, another would be green buildings. See, green buildings is a very good initiative because buildings in the Philippines consume 36% of our electricity. So we have to bring down demand as well. So the first one is in terms of supply, let's have more renewable energy. And then on the other hand, let's look at consumption of energy or electricity, and bring that down as well. So any green building initiative which encompasses energy efficiency or the reduction of energy consumption and the reduction of water, the reduction of carbon footprint, that's very good. So let's try to promote green buildings as well.
When you talk about renewable energy and you're saying that we've had over dependence on coal, I presume also you're hoping that we don't depend on fossil fuel. What would be the alternative aside from solar panels?
In the Philippines, we do have a couple of hydroelectric projects. Run of river, is the more common version, where you try to capture the movement of water, to propel. I'm getting more technical. So we're using movements of water, of rivers and waterfalls, to produce electricity. So that's hydro. Another thing that we haven't maximized, and I like this a lot because we have a lot of chickens and a lot of pigs, it's converting their waste to methane, producing methane out of chicken and pig waste and converting that methane into electricity. I like that a lot because you're also managing waste and bringing down pollution level. Now, waste is converted to energy as well. So we have projects whereby as much as 70, and there was 100% of their electricity needs, in a pig production facility and also a chicken production facility. Electricity comes from pig and chicken waste. So imagine that, It's supposed to be trash. It's supposed to be waste that's so hard to manage, but instead it's converted to energy. So yeah, of course, the Philippines also is the second largest producer of geothermal energy, but those projects are a bit on the big side. So these are not for everyone. But for those of you who have the capability to actually engage in geothermal projects as well as wind projects, yes, there is also potential, for the country to have those two.
Do you think there'll also be growth in EV-driven car loans now that EVs are starting to be sold in the market in a broader way?
Well, we do have an auto loan facility, so definitely would be. We have been actually been very happy, to finance electric vehicles, or electric cars. Now, to your question on whether there'll be strong growth, the thing is that while I expect electric vehicles, to be more visible in the streets in the coming years, no? Because there are more and more affordable brands coming in. I think the rise will be a little bit slow at the start. No? And why is that? No, first, as mentioned earlier, the pandemic and the Ukraine war brought down the purchasing power of a lot of people. So the economic and health impacts, no, of both the pandemic and the Ukraine war brings down purchasing power. So demand for vehicles as a whole, no, is not very high today. Now, secondly, the thing with electric vehicles is that the country's technical know-how is still very limited. So if your electric car conks out, no, outside Manila, uh, you may not receive immediate help. No, so that's another worry, because it is not yet, it's a technology that is not yet very well known. The third problem that I see is the weak infrastructure support. No, and I mean accessibility of charging stations, no, and maintenance services. So I only know of a very few people who have electric cars today, and that's why I say the start will be a little slow. But I think as these three problems that I mentioned, no, from purchasing power to the country's technical know-how and to the infrastructure support, no, like charging stations and maintenance services. Once these three problems are addressed, I think the momentum will accelerate, in terms of pickup, no, of electric cars. But don't worry, even as of today, BPI would be most happy to help you if you want to borrow for an electric car purchase.
I know that ESG is getting something of a backlash in the United States because either it's been politicized, or even in Japan. In the case of Japan, you have some big companies refusing to follow the ESG agendas. Do you think a similar issue like this could somehow pop up in the Philippines?
This is what I see. The weakness of these concepts of sustainability is that they have been expanded too much, to the point that they also encompass trivial or non-material initiatives. So that is why I always want to stick to the formula ESG+E2. E2, which talks about economic benefits, means there is material impact. No, there's a significant benefit that you get out of an ESG initiative, meaning there is positive impact on the environment and there's positive impact on people. If you forget that materiality, the need to have a substantial impact, then you ask now, what is that ESG initiative all about? What is the importance of that ESG initiative? So if we can ensure that we stick to our formula and ensure that ESG initiatives truly benefit the people and the environment, then we will be able to dodge that same problem that the first world countries are experiencing today. So remember, in fact, that is the most important takeaway that I hope to leave behind. There always has to be an economic benefit, a truly substantial economic benefit for both the environment and the people, for our ESG initiative to be truly sustaining and for it to have a more lasting impact. So that we have to remember, so that we will all be truly sustainable.
Thank you very much, John, for that insightful talk and answers that you've shared with us. But before we proceed to our next speaker, do not forget to register for our raffle today. We have one lucky viewer who will win 3,000 pesos dining credits to Jingting Restaurant located at the City of Dreams, Manila. And we have a grand prize winner who will win 7,000 pesos worth of dining credits to Halia Restaurant, also located at the City of Dreams in Parañaque City. To know more on how to join the raffle, all you have to do is click on the link in the comment section, which will be posted by our Manila Bulletin Sustainability staff. Good luck!